Vasily Lomachenko may retire because Gervonta Davis scared him into retirement. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that Vasily Lomachenko is a warrior, but let's call a spade a spade. It's time to call the spade a spade. And this spade says Lomachenko got smart and recognized that he was going to go out in his career unconscious, and he didn't want it. As a result, he is going to more than likely tuck it in, retire, and move on about his business. Not saying that there's no chance that he could beat Gervonta Davis. Not saying that. I'm just saying that there was a huge chance that if he got up on the wrong side of the bed that morning, that Gervonta was going to put him in another one to sleep. And boxing is not going to excuse this. Boxing is going to excuse this and blame Gervonta. Watch. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we're just going to keep it a buck because Gervonta Davis could have just had a very nice notch on his belt taken away from him because Vasily Lomachenko got a case of, yeah, I know I can't beat him. Let me repeat that. This accolade for Gervonta Davis is not going to be there because Lomachenko knows, this is my personal opinion, that he's not going to win that fight. And the media is going to blame Gervonta Davis for it. Now, before I get into the detail, and by media, I'm talking about you YouTube channels too. You guys want to say your media? I'm throwing y'all under the bus right with them. Let's talk about this. But before I do, let me give a big thanks to the Hall of Famer, 6-time world champion, the great Tommy the Hit. You can see it right here. Tommy the Hitman Hearns. Thank you so much for giving us these signed gloves that we're going to get to subscribers. If you are new to the channel, you've not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and come to a live stream. And as soon as we know who you are and we get this list, we're going to do a little raffle and we're going to get 4 of these guys out and mailed out to you guys because Tommy Hearns was like, man, we really he loves the channel and he appreciates the community. So I just want to spread that blessing. And again, thank you so much, Tommy Hearns, just for even thinking about the channel is huge. Thank you so much, sir. But let's get into this. I like Lomachenko, and I like Lomachenko as a fighter a lot. I have to say this part first. I like Lomachenko as a fighter a lot. I think Vasily Lomachenko is without a doubt a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think Vasily Lomachenko is probably one of the 2 or 3 best 130 pounders that I've ever seen at 130 pounds, 126, 130 pounds, just a dynamic fighter. Excellent, excellent fighter. A little long in the tooth now, heading into his later 30s, right? But he was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis. And he said that he wasn't ready at the end of the year. If he wasn't really motivated, then he wasn't going to be really ready to fight Gervonta. So he wasn't going to do anything until February. He wasn't going to talk about anything until 2025, till the end of the year or the top of 2025. Right? So the fight dies down. Now, Mike Coppinger, who is 100% purely a jerk. Like, dude, Mike Coppinger is just a jerk, flat out jerk. Bad personality, snarky, vindictive, just a petty ass dude who got a job at ESPN writing. And I mean that. I'll tell you that to your face, Mike Coppinger. You're petty. You're about as petty as you get. Okay. And you probably need to get up off that pettiness, man. Seriously, because it is just so obvious that your reputation is garbage. Okay. And I'm not talking about whether or not you like boxing, you don't like boxing. I'm telling you, man, Mike Coppinger is one of the most petty human beings that I have ever had the misfortune of watching operate. And the things that he wrote about Gervonta Davis and the angles that he take on Gervonta Davis is absolutely nothing but personal animus and personal, professional, strategizing. That's it. Other than that, man, Mike Coppinger ain't worth a spit. Ain't worth a spit surrounding some peanuts that you spit out your mouth. I mean, he's terrible. I just have to tell you this because I've held my mouth. I've really held my tongue on Mike Coppinger for a while. But dude, Mike Coppinger, I will never read anything that he does. Anyway, so Mike Coppinger comes out and says Lomachenko's contemplating retirement. So I'm like, okay, Lomachenko's contemplating retirement. What does that mean? This is the Lomachenko. This is the Lomachenko that said after Devin Haney that he had petitioned every sanctioning body in order to get in the ranking at number 1 so he can pursue his dream of undisputed. He comes back after the Devin Haney loss, fights Jermaine Ortiz, barely scrapes by Jermaine Ortiz, but he gets by he gets back past Jermaine Ortiz. He gets past Jermaine Ortiz. Then he fights Devin Haney. He loses that Devin Haney, but he comes back, I do believe, in a championship fight. I think that was his very next fight, where he fights and gets a championship shot against Devin Haney's leftovers called George Kambosos. So there he is now with the championship with George Kambosos. And he's offered his unification fight, a unification fight with the WBA champion. And now he says, no, I think I'll retire. Well, I wonder what the difference was when you're contemplating this. Well, when you had a dream of, when Lomachenko had that dream of undisputed, he had that dream of undisputed when he thought he could get it fighting Devin. He had that dream of undisputed when he thought he could get it fighting Kambosos. He don't have that dream anymore when he got to go through Tank. Now, you all are going to say, some of y'all, not the people that with brains won't say this, but some of y'all will say this. What does that mean? That Tank just waited him. Tank just waited him out. Tank just waited him out. No, Tank, you can say Tank waited him out, whatever. But I'm going to tell you just like I'll tell you about weight classes. When a fighter wins a world championship in his 17th fight, in his second, at 130, he still only has 17 fights. He won a world championship in his 17th fight. That means he still only has 17 fights. Unlike Lomachenko, who won his world championship in 2 or 3 fights, Lomachenko had 15 years amateur experience and 2 trips to the Olympics and was a full-grown man at 26 years old before he ever even turned pro. It's go time on Lomachenko when he wins his first championship. It's not go time on a 21-year-old. It's not go time on a 22-year-old. You got to develop them and build them if you believe they have the talent and matchmake them and put them in a situation where they get their full range of experiences. They get their full range of development. They've gotten used to being a champion for a long time. They are ready. We know in boxing that you develop fighters. Gervonta Davis was a mega talent. They developed him. They're supposed to develop him. That's the job. The job isn't to say, we got a knockout artist. Let's throw him in with a guy 10 years older than him, vastly more experienced before he ever gets a chance to get the experience. No, you let the kid get the experience. You let the kid get 10 fights, 11 fights. And then once he's all the way grown and you know this is a fully developed fighter, he is at his peak. That's when you put him in there with a Lomachenko. You don't put him in a Lomachenko as a prospect or as a champion, a very young champion or a very young title holder. Because remember, there's 4 belts in that division. Just because you got a title doesn't mean that you're fully developed. Just because Floyd Schofield, who's number 2 or 3 in the WBC, doesn't mean he's fully developed and ready to fight Tank. He can be ready. Floyd Schofield can be number 1. If he gets that chant right now, Gervonta Davis is going to kill him. And guess what? Gervonta Davis is going to kill him. And guess what? He shouldn't put him in there with him because you don't want to get him killed. You want to get him in a situation where when they fight, he's ready for that fight. So Gervonta Davis was saying, he originally said that he wasn't even ready for Jose Pedraza and they threw him in there. So he was like, man, I didn't even feel like I was ready and developed for Pedraza because he wasn't. He had never faced anybody in a situation like Jose Pedraza and get built up to Jose Pedraza. They're not going to do it twice with Tank. So anyway, Tank, the guy that's selling all these stadiums and doing all that stuff, was built the way every fighter should be developed. They did the same thing for Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was fought old Archie Moore, right? Well before he got a championship shot. Archie Moore had a name, but Archie Moore wasn't still Archie Moore. And if Archie Moore was Archie Moore, they probably wouldn't have put Cassius Clay in with him that early. Because they are investing their money and they want to build this kid. Every fighter needs to be built. So you guys blaming Gervonta for being built at 135? At 130 to put him in a position to be fully rounded as a fighter? I'm not trying to hear it. That's like telling me somebody needs to go amateur at 15 years old. No, they don't. You're not fully developed at 15 years old. I don't care how good your skill sets are. Your body still has to develop before you're ready to fight pros. Same thing when you turn pro. You're not originally right there ready to go for champions. Anyway, I never had a problem with Gervonta doing that. My problem is now that Lomachenko sees that and he's like, nah, I don't want that. You got to judge Lomachenko off that. You got to be like, look, man, you wanted to fight Devin. You wanted to fight Tio. You wanted to fight Rigondeaux. You wanted to fight these. You were okay with fight. What's different with Tank? You can't get motivated for him? Well, maybe it is the end of the career, but also it could be that he sees this. Tank has been developing. Now Tank is patient. Now Tank knows how to block. He can see that Tank knows what he's doing. And he sees what Tank's doing because he's expert at what Tank's doing. And he says, oh God, that's going to be a lot of problem for me, man. This dude is 30 years old now and I'm almost 40. He's in his physical prime and his mental prime and he's feeling himself and he keeps knocking people. Nah, maybe I need to sit down, man. I think I might sit down. Because I promise you, Lomachenko shouldn't get back out if he said he was going to sit down. Because as soon as you start thinking about sitting down, contemplating sitting down, it's a wrap, especially against him. But please don't go blaming Gervonta for Lomachenko deciding not to allow himself to get run into something that has been happening in boxing forever. That's what it is. Old people go out, young people come in. When you are in your prime and there's a young dude there, as you go towards the end of your career, they go towards their prime. And if you decide that you're going to fight, you want to fight this guy here, you'll beat him. You can beat him. But if you go forward out of your prime into your later ages and he leaves from that beginning into his prime, that situation changes. But Lomachenko was okay with that for Devin, okay with that for Jermaine Ortiz. He was okay with that for George Kambosos. He's okay with that for Teofimo Lopez. But he ain't going to be okay with that for Tank because Tank ain't like them dudes. Lomachenko screw around and be asleep. He'll screw around and get hit with something and be asleep. If he tries to press that gas on Gervonta Davis and sit there and switch angles with that southpaw, he can go to sleep. That's not the case with the rest of those dudes. And that's why the fight's not happening and why the fight didn't happen. And it ain't got nothing to do with them trying to protect Gervonta because y'all hating selves. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.